Music producers, Curtis King of Curtis King TV, and I want to ask you a question. Do you find yourself constantly changing your mind and feeling like it might be a sign of weakness? I have an argument that may make you feel otherwise, whether you're talking about changing your mind about your beat stores or your website design or whatever it is that you're into. I got some information that I think is going to relieve you of putting all that extra pressure on your back. Let's talk about it. Music producers, if this is your first time watching one of my videos, I want to first and foremost welcome you to Curtis King TV. This is a channel that is dedicated to the inspiration and mentorship of music producers, but we do content that's a little bit outside the box because we like to talk about things that are just life related, mental health related, and that is no exclusion to this topic at hand. Why changing your mind might be your best superpower, according to Jeff Bezos. Now, I was on an article on Inc.com, and I read this article many years ago, and it kind of co-signed some thoughts that I had about changing my mind, even though I changed my mind about the idea of changing my mind because I thought that changing my mind all the damn time meant that I didn't have a mind to begin with, or that I was just indecisive, or that I didn't know what I want. Oh, I must be messing it up. I must be failing at something. But according to one of the richest, if not the richest man in the world, and I don't think that's the only reason, let me put a disclaimer, that's not the reason we're listening to this advice. We're following the clues of success as entrepreneurs ourselves, as music producers, and I think this is very much something that we should pay attention to, especially when you're talking about, this was inspired, this article that was written by Tommy Mello, which I'll leave in the description below. The title is Keep Changing Your Mind, ? According to Jeff Bezos, that's a sign of high intelligence. Sticking with your decisions is not always the best way to learn and grow. So they made this article based upon a conversation that went down in 2012. That was a Q&A between Jason Fried, who was the co-founder of Basecamp, and Jeff Bezos, who was obviously the creator of Amazon. And they both kind of made conclusions based upon this Q&A that they have observed that the smartest people are constantly revising their understanding, reconsidering a problem they thought they'd already solved. They're open to new points of views, new information, new ideas, contradictions, and challenges to their own way of thinking. At the end of the day, you come up with more innovative approaches and improve upon your existing solutions. I think what this really boils down to, and they talk about it in the article, do you stand on one side of the argument that says, no, you never change your mind, you gotta be somebody that stands 10 toes down, confident about your decisions, and just go forward? Or do you stand on the other side that says, wait a minute, I don't always have the right answers. I don't always have a answer. I'm just not afraid to get into some action, and I'm also not afraid of being wrong and listening to the opinions of others. When you weigh them, you start to notice that there is one thing that is the elephant in the room that separates both those points of views. It's one word called humility. I think that I in the past have felt like probably some of you who are watching this video that, if you're always changing your mind, that means you don't know what you want. That means you're indecisive. That means that you're weak. That means that you're terrible to lead. You're terrible to, I don't want to come work for somebody that's always changing their mind about things. But then you think about some of the most innovative human beings that we have seen. They're always looking for ways to edit their original creation or their original plan or their visionary plan. Think about Steve Jobs and the changes that Apple went underneath his regime and outside of his regime. You see that having this ability to be flexible is actually what keeps you up to date with the evolution of your industry. When you think about the way that producers have had so many responsibilities put on their back as entrepreneurs, as funnel creators, as marketers, as social media content creators, we're having to wear a lot of hats. And because we wear a lot of hats, there's always that part of us that's like, man, how do I stay in tune with what's going on? What part of staying in tune is leaving yourself the opportunity and space to evolve when you may not have all the answers. And when you don't have all the answers, you better be able to look at other people, especially those that are within your circle, within your industry, other producers that understand what you're going through. You better be able to consult with them and trust that they'll tell you when your shit stinks. And not everybody gonna tell you that. But I will say, after reading this article, they also talk about the cons of being the other person. If someone can't climb out of the details and see the bigger picture from multiple angles, they're often wrong most of the time. I agree. I found myself in a place where the decision to become decisive was not based upon the necessity to just make decisions. It was based upon my ego. It was based upon, if I do not lead forward in this, people will not believe in my leadership. And I think that even though that's a valid argument, that's not what you're supposed to be basing your decisions off of. I don't think indecisiveness actually is a problem unless it leads to inaction. What do I mean? If you you are constantly changing your mind and doing nothing at all, then you have analysis paralysis. You have way too many options, way too many directions to go, but you can't make a decision on anything. There's a difference between that person and the person that says, well, let's look at this zoomed out. Let's look at the big picture here. Is there a possibility that not only that I have it wrong, that we all have it wrong, and this person that just left us a Yelp review, or this customer of ours, this rapper who's never made a beat in their life, is there a possibility that they're right, that we're having way too many sounds in our production? Is there an actual argument that we should revisit our pricing? Is there an actual argument that this instrumental album is way too damn long? That comes from a place of humility, but you cannot be in that place if you always feel like your entire leadership is based upon, I make these decisions, I stick by them, and I never change. You ever met somebody that never changed? Probably is one of the biggest assholes you ever met. 9 times out of 10, those assholes learn the hard way, and they end up changing their ways very silently. Like, you might have been right. What you said a few years ago, you might have been right. I still think I was right, but I mean, you might have been right. That's that energy. Stay away from that energy. Listen to the advice and the clues that success is leaving behind by folks who have already found success. I can tell you this, for somebody who has gone back and forth from, oh, I'm gonna not do a YouTube, and I'm gonna get my own community, and I'm gonna create my own website. Let me tell you this. After doing that and doing it successfully, I can tell you this. I do not want the responsibilities of having my own YouTube. Not as a 1-man, 2-man, 3-man team. That was just not gonna happen. It burnt me out. It burnt my video editor out. It burnt out my assistant. It burnt out so many people at the time, and it just put us in a place where it's like we don't have the staff that a YouTube has. It doesn't make any sense. And so instead of thinking of, oh, how can I get rid of them and kind of get my own and and this is all about ownership, I had to remove the ego out of it and realize these websites and these different third-party plugins are here for a reason, to support what I'm doing. And if I don't have an actual passion, like the person that created YouTube or the person that created a social media, to actually go all the way and make that my thing, if I'm into music, I don't have the luxury to come here and complain about the rules they set up. It's not my house. This is their home. If I don't like it, then I set something up of my own. But I have to realize that when I do that, after having 1,000 members in that community, after dedicating hours and hours and hours, 300 plus hours of mentorship and videos, I realize it's a lot of work to do on your own. And so I changed my mind again. Now, one thing I haven't changed my mind on is selling beats. I have no desire to sell beats again, but I do tell you this. I'm starting to change my mind about working with artists again. But that comes from a place of humility and knowing, you know what? I don't always have the answers. And sometimes you just got to know when to shut up before you announce things and, oh, I'm never gonna do this. I'll never do. Sometimes you gotta shut up and just let life lead you and just kind of examine it and see what it is. But aside from that, I just want you to hopefully look at your constant changing of your mind not as a weakness anymore. Look at it as a strength. Look at it as you have to be the most flexible. You have to be open to all the different changes and the different trends that happen within your industry. As like I said, whatever you're doing as a producer, you gotta be open to that. You have to understand what's going on. If you as the head of this machine don't know where to go next, how can you lead anyone? If you only set your mind on this is it and there's never gonna be anything else, and you don't open yourself for flexibility, how can you expect those who are your employees to also be flexible about your ideas and your points of views? I think that there's a level of humility and there's a level of strength in constantly changing your mind. Just don't let it lead to inaction, and don't let it lead to analysis paralysis. It's a huge, huge difference. Sit with it for a second. Thank you for watching today's video. Once again, I'm Curtis King of Curtis King TV. Make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you feel otherwise. I would love to hear opposing opinions, because I'm always open to changing my mind about something. That's a sign of strength. Haha, you see what I did there? Make sure you like, hit subscribe. What's hit subscribe? Make sure you do all that good stuff. Like I always say, in this life, you will not be full of life until you decide to live life to its fullest. Once again, it's Curtis King, Curtis King TV. Have a good one. Peace.
Look up, Nazi. Say cheese.